remember what parts of Paul's story we've heard. Okay? Okay, what happened first?
The road to Damascus.
Oh, I heard something about Damascus. Oh, somebody said that he was also known as Saul. That's right, that's important. That's right. Anybody else? He was blind, that's right. And he got told to go see Ananias, and God gave him courage to obey. He was blind. Well, what about him traveling around? Do you remember that? Well, he traveled around, and remember him telling everybody about it and getting into a lot of trouble. But God gave him courage for that too. And we mentioned that he changed his name. We know him by Paul now. And remember, he was telling all these people about how to become followers of Jesus. Well, that pretty well catches us up. Now, remember last night when I told you that Paul was a Roman citizen? Well, here's where that's going to be important. Because as a Roman citizen, he could ask to be judged in Rome. And that's just exactly what he did. But it took those Roman officials 2 whole years before they could get him on his way. And that's okay, because God had a special assignment for him in the meantime. You see, those Romans were holding him, and while they were, Paul got to talk to all kinds of governors and military leaders, and even a king and a queen. He got to tell his story about how Jesus had changed his life. Some of the most important people around that area, they got to hear from Paul how to become a follower of Jesus. And that's pretty amazing. Well, on the road, they finally put him on a ship. And boy, it was one adventure after another until he got to Rome. I wish I had time to tell you all about them, but I don't. So I'm just going to tell you about the first part of that journey. Now, when you're traveling by ship, you have to have some wind. Make it go. But you don't need too much wind. That would be bad. And that was the problem during the first part of Paul's journey. They just didn't have enough wind. And it took them forever to go anywhere. So they were behind schedule. And the winter storms were going to start moving into that part of the ocean. Paul told them it's probably not such a good idea that we keep going. But despite that wonderful advice, those sailors decided to pull up that anchor and just took off. Sure enough, a couple of days into the trip, a storm pops up. Now, this wasn't a little storm. It was one of those big storms, and it just tossed that ship back and forth for 14 days. Those sailors just didn't know what to do, so they started grabbing all the stuff on board and throwing it over just to keep that boat from going down. And that don't be all. They were sick most of the time, so they didn't get anything to eat for that whole nearly 2 weeks. Well, in the middle of all of this, an angel comes and talks to Paul and tells him that no matter how bad it was looking, God was going to save everybody on that ship. Now, when you've been tossed around on a boat and you haven't had anything to eat for 2 weeks, that's pretty good news. But that angel didn't say anything about the ship being saved. And sure enough, a couple of days later, that ship ran onto a sandbar that was just off of an island. It got stuck there. But the waves from the ocean just kept crashing against it and breaking it up, and before too long, it came completely apart. Everybody that was on board had to jump into the water and swim for shore on the broken pieces of the ship. But, just like the angel said, everybody made it. Not a single person went down to that ship. So, you see, Paul's life, it had a lot of ups and it had a lot of and every one of those situations, even the ones that he couldn't see coming. And he can do that for your life too, if you just let him. Well, it's that time. I want to thank you again for coming to my park this week. And I hope that you'll remember something about the story of Paul that Grandpa Bernie told you. So long,